Okay, last time we were talking about Piaget and the idea of wait a minute, I gotta fix this up. We were talking about Piaget and the idea of bringing of development, and that human beings are living organisms. And the whole point of this is that is to understand that living organisms bring meaning to the universe, right? Facts are not isolated facts. Rather, facts are understood in what they mean to people. I'm going to give you a couple examples. Anybody here sing in a church choir? Or something similar? Yeah? Okay, come over here. Okay. You have a soprano voice? Yeah. Good. She has a soprano voice. Good. What? Okay, now you have to sing, right? Okay, ready? We're going to sing. Tell us your name.
Becky.
Okay, Becky, there you can't charge. No charge for concerts in this class, okay?
Dang it.
Okay. She was upset. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Can you hear both of us? Becky, say something.
Hello.
Can you hear both of us? Yeah, they're not complaining. Okay.
Okay.
Here's what we're going to do. Okay? We're going to sing the first line to Are You Sleeping? Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping, Brother John? No harmonizing.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Go ahead. Go, go ahead. Take a break. Okay, wait. Ready together. Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping, Brother John? Brother John? Very good. Now, no applause? What the heck is this? Never mind. Too late. That's for you, right? Now I want you to sing in the same key. We're going to pretend it's C. Sing Yankee Doodle Went to Town.
Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony.
Okay, ready? Now, here's the question that we're going to ask. We have three, we're just going to start from Yankee Doodle Went to Town. Okay, we have three melodies that were sung, or three entities that were sung. She sang, Are You Sleeping, Brother John? I sang, Are You Sleeping, Brother John? And she sang, Yankee Doodle Went to Town. Right? Right? Okay? Two of them were very similar, and one was unlike the other. Okay? Two were quite similar to each other, and one was not at all like the other two. Okay, we're going to take a vote now about which one was the least similar to the other two. Who says that my singing Are You Sleeping was least similar to the other two? Who says, we got 3 votes here. Who says that her singing was the least similar? Who says that her singing Yankee Doodle was the least similar to the other two? Most people. Those of you who voted that my singing was the least similar, why? We were both singing the same tune the first time. Go ahead.
You were the only thing singing differently. She sang both songs, you sang one song.
Oh, okay, but I'm talking about the songs themselves, not our singing. Okay, if you're a learning theorist, the vote has to be for my singing Are You Sleeping? Because when we sang the same tune, Are You Sleeping, right? We said, let's pretend it was in C, okay? We're pretending. Do you have any... Wait, do you have any idea?
No idea.
No, I don't have any idea too. Right? Very few people have perfect pitch. Okay, let's pretend it was in C. Okay, so we sang C D E A C C D E C C D E C D E C E F G, right? That's what we sang. Okay. However, if you were to play what we sang on the piano, you would never hit the same 2 notes. Because one of us, we don't want to mention any names, was singing an octave higher than the other. Right? She was singing an octave higher than I was. So you'd have to If this is a piano in front of us, she'd be singing up there and I'd be singing down here, never hitting the same notes. When she sang Yankee Doodle, she hit almost the same notes as she did with Frere Jacques. He had a note or two. Yankee Doodle, C, C, D, E. Yankee Doodle, C, C, D, E, C, D, E. Same C, D's, and E's that she sang when she sang Are You Sleeping, right? Now, I was singing completely different notes, way up on the piano, much lower on the piano, right? Way down on the piano. Right? You have a nice voice, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay.
I try.
All right, give her a big hand. Thank you very much. So if you're going to say that what counts is each individual element, then you have to say, mine was completely different. But obviously, to most people, obviously, the two of us singing Are You Sleeping together, we were singing the exact same melody. And the other one, when Becky's saying Yankee Doodle went to town, is completely different. Okay? So why did they, okay? How could that be if we're singing different notes? Because your mind brings an understanding, your thinking brings an understanding to the nature of music. It's how the music is organized and understood that makes a difference. Right? And we understand things, those of us who were brought up with Western music, called melodies based on this scale that we have. And clearly the organization of the notes I sang, one octave lower, was exactly the same as the organization of the notes that Becky sang one octave higher, and it yielded the same understanding, the same tune. Now you could obviously hear that I was singing lower than she was, but it yielded the same tune. It's how things are organized. We talked about hydrogen and oxygen last time, I believe, didn't we? Okay? Looking at the nature of hydrogen and looking at the nature of oxygen won't tell you anything about how things are organized. When they come together, they're organized in a certain way to make water. You add another oxygen, you get hydrogen peroxide. Okay? H2O2. Likewise with human understanding of the environment. The music, which is produced by humans, right? The understanding comes from how you think about things. Okay, how you think about things. Or let me put it differently. I'm going to write this down here. Let's go to the tablet. The parts take their meaning. Got to make a slide like this. From the whole. Okay? The parts take their meaning from the whole. In other words, if you analyze the two tunes that Becky sang, you would say, oh, I get what Yankee Doodle is. It's Frere Jacques with one more C and two more C's, one more D and one more E. I don't know if I counted right, but I think I did. I got it now. No, it's one more of each, as a matter of fact. It's one more, that's what, but obviously it's not. It's not. What's a great painting? Well, a great painting, I did an analysis of all the paintings hanging in the Museum of Modern Art. And a great painting is 22% red, 14% white, 83% black. I mean, come on. You can't do that. You can't look at the parts and understand the whole. You can't look at a painting and say, oh, it's a dab of red and 3 dabs of green and 5 dabs of yellow. It's the whole. It's how it comes together to make meaning. And you can't understand any part unless you see how it goes in to make the whole. To break down a tune into its notes doesn't tell you anything. You just have a bunch of notes lying around. How are they organized together to make meaning? Okay. What's the meaning? And then, of course, someone have to say, well, you did sing the same tune, but it wasn't the same. What is the meaning between an octave higher and an octave lower? Anybody know what? Was it an octave? I guess it was.
I think it was a couple of octaves.
Go ahead. What'd you say? Push it down. Push it down.
I think it was more like a couple of octaves.
Couple of octaves. Could be, because she has a high voice and I have a pretty low voice. A couple of octaves, whatever. Once you get beyond 2 octaves, I get lost, okay? So that's what a developmental psychologist of almost any kind is going to tell you. And that person is going to tell you that the nature of any part, the nature of any specific psychological event, if you will, takes its meaning from the organization of the whole, of how people's thoughts are organized. Okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? So in other words, if I say something in this room, okay, your understanding of it has to do not just with what you've learned, but with your attitudes, with your cognition. Okay? So if I say to you, baseball is the world's greatest game, okay? Anybody agree with me? Few people agree with me, right? Some people click off. Or if I tell you, let me give you another one, okay? The President of the United States is the best president we've ever had, okay? Some people are going, yay, some people go, right? Okay, I'll tell you, right now Bush is the president. I don't know who'll be the president the last time this tape runs, but, okay? So you get emotional reactions. You get all kinds of reactions to things, okay? And it's not just a matter of learning, it's a matter of what goes. If I tell you, some of you who like baseball, I remember when I understood a batting average. I knew that a person who had a batting average, I loved baseball from the time I was a little kid, who had a batting average of 333 was doing better than someone who had a batting average of 280. But I didn't understand what a batting average was. And I remember the misery of converting fractions into decimals. And I remember, how can thirds and eighths and fifths and ninths all be turned into tenths? I could never get the logic of it. When it finally hit me, the term batting average meant something very different to me than it did after that. I could finally figure an average. I can say, somebody had a batting average of 333, the person got a hit a third of the time. Aren't too many players like that, but some people do it. Okay? Those are the kinds of things. So what we have, let's go to the PowerPoint. Okay, what we have here is 2 different views of knowledge. Learning theorists have a reductionist view of knowledge. That is, the whole, a cognitive task, can be broken down to its parts without losing meaning. Okay, I can take a task and do what they call a task analysis. I can break it down into its parts. There's also an additive view of knowledge. The whole equals the sum of its parts. So I can teach this little part, and that little part, and this little part, and that little part. The kid will learn all the parts and understand the whole. So I can break a task down into its parts, and each teach part separately until the whole is achieved. That's what a task analysis does. Okay? The developmental approach to knowledge is it takes a holistic view of knowledge. Individual bits of knowledge have no meaning apart from the person's understanding of them, of their context. The understanding of a task has to do with the interaction or interrelationships of the part. Yeah, go ahead.
So what you were saying earlier about the parts take their meaning from the organization of the whole, are you just siding with the developmental approach to knowledge? Or are you totally rejecting the learning approach then?
Am I rejecting the learning approach? I don't know what you mean by rejecting.
Well, I mean, like when you're explaining that whole, the parts take their meaning from the whole, like you're establishing, I guess, your opinion right there. Is that, I don't know.
No.
Like that, to me, that contradicts the learning approach. I didn't know if that's...
It does. This is supposed to come at the end, but I'll tell you now. What it says is, when you learn something, whether the meaning that you make of it has to do with how your cognition is organized. Okay? I'll give you an example. I was going to do it before, but I'll give you an example. Okay, let me take two students. Let me take two different people. Okay, way back there. Come over here, the two of you. Come on, come on. All right, these are my two students, okay? And we're learning the capitals of the states. Okay, my first student is?
Chazia.
Say it again?
Chazia.
Chazia, we've already had her name twice. And?
Jessica.
Jessica, okay? So I've asked them, Chazia and Jessica have been taught, I want to know who knows more about the capital of the states. I've tested Chazia, and she knows the capital of every state. Jessica? Okay, so watch this. What's the capital of South Dakota, Jessica? No idea. Chazia?
I don't know.
This one. Oh, no.
Pierre.
Pierre, spelled Pierre, right? This goes on and on. Every state she knows the capital. Jessica, I don't know, 10 states, 12 states. Oh boy, Chazia knows more. Then Chazia says to me, by the way, I know the capital of the states. Can I ask you a question though? What's bigger? I know that the capital of Texas, where I live, is... What's the capital of Texas? Austin, okay. I get confused sometimes. There are two ways to be decent about the capital of the state. Either you make the capital of your state the biggest city in the state, like Massachusetts, the capital is Boston, or you make the capital of your state the city that has the name of your state, like Oklahoma City is the capital of Oklahoma. Texas City is not the capital of Texas. The biggest city in Texas is not the capital of Texas. Go state to state. It's most states are just, actually sometimes they figured it would be, but it didn't work out that way. Okay. So all of a sudden Chazia says to me, by the way, I meant to ask you, I know Austin is the capital of Texas. What's bigger, Austin or Texas? I know they're both in America. What's bigger, Austin or America? Austin, the United States. I know it's in North America. What's bigger, Texas or North America? And Jessica's looking and saying, thinking, if she gives these answers, she must be a little... What do you think about those questions?
North.
What's bigger, North? Do you think it's an intelligent question, or do you think what's bigger, Austin or North America?
Well, it's kind of a trick question.
Yeah. So why is it a trick question? What's bigger, Austin or Texas?
Well, one has a lot of states, and the other one is one state.
No, but what's bigger, Austin or Texas?
Texas.
Texas, okay. She thinks she's nuts. So don't worry, she's 11 and she's 5. Be calm, okay? 5-year-olds can mention that. She's 11, she's 5. This would be a question you hear from 5-year-olds all the time, and 11-year-olds would think it's crazy. So the question is, who really knows more about states? The fact that she's memorized the capital of the states, what does it mean? The fact that a kid can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can't go 10 now. You have to go 10 from Sesame Street, right? But that same kid will tell you, oh, there are more fingers on this hand than on this hand. Oh, now they're the same. Oh, no, now there are more fingers on this hand than on this hand. What does that mean? Okay, give them both a big hand. Thank you very much. Okay, they sit in the back so I won't pick on them, but it didn't work this time. All right? The question is, what does that mean? What does that mean that one, excuse me, that one knows all the information? Sorry, tell me your name.
Michelle.
Again?
Michelle.
Okay. Wait a second. See, this cold is preserved for posterity now. So Michelle's question, that's the answer to your question, Michelle. What you know is understood as a function of how you think. Or what you learn is understood later, we'll see, as a function of how you feel. For Piaget, it's a matter of think, right? What something means to you, how you understand something is a function of how you think. So let's go back to the PowerPoint for, okay, so The whole equals the interreaction, interrelationships of the parts, which means our understanding of the parts. So breaking a task into meaningless units doesn't enhance understanding. A person can learn all the parts and still not understand the whole. The task has to be understood by and make sense to the learner. Come back to me and I'll give you an example. Okay? We have this thing, I don't know if it'll still be going, but I doubt that it'll be gone, but it's big as this tape is being made, called phonemic awareness. Understanding the relationships between phonemes and morphemes, spoken words and written words, okay? And so you have this idea of teaching kids the relationship between words and letters. But if you have a kid, you say to the kid, write the word dog. And the kid goes, DBNY. So that's good. Write the word dogs. DBNYR. Write the word dogwood. DBNYZP. Then you have kid number 2. Write the word dog. DRX. Write the word dogs. DRX. Write the word dogwood. DRX. Write dog catcher. DRX. The first kid understands that the more sounds you have, the more letters you have to have. The second kid doesn't grasp that, has no idea what it means to represent the relationship between written representation and the spoken word. Doesn't get it. The first kid you can begin to teach how to spell and teach quote-unquote phonemic awareness, awareness of the relationships between spoken sounds and written sounds. The second one, you're wasting your time. Just like you're wasting your time drilling a kid on mathematics who thinks there are more fingers on this hand than on this hand, and now thinks there are more fingers on this hand than on this hand. That kid doesn't understand what a number is. You see the 5 fingers here? That 5 is not in the fingers. That 5 is in your head. Fiveness is a concept that's in your head. Okay? Your concepts of space, knowing what's in front of you and what's in front of me and what's in back of you and what's in back of me, that's in your head. That's your ability to have a cognitive picture of the organization of this room and how it looks to different people sitting in the room. We'll get to that. And what you learn then is a function. What you learn then is a function. How you understand what you learn is a function of how you think. And even more than that, what you can meaningfully learn is a function of how you think. That is, how your thinking is organized. Okay? And that has to do with the growth of thinking. And we have to understand, and it's not just a matter of piling up facts like a machine, or even getting into interrelationships among facts. It's a matter of thinking. I'm going to say this right now. How many of you want to be elementary school teachers? Okay, the worst, almost about 40%, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this tape, the worst thing that you can do, or I'm saying there's nothing worse, there are other things just as bad, is to drill a kid on things that he or she doesn't understand. You don't understand what a number is? More math drills and more math drills and more math drills. More and more and more of stuff that you have no hope of understanding. Now, in 6 months, in a year maybe. You don't understand the relationships between sounds and letters? More drills and more drills and more drills and more drills. The kid is learning something. I'm stupid. I can't do this stuff. I don't understand it. I hate it. Of course, what you can do is say, oh, I drilled and drilled, it didn't work, slap a label. Kid's learning disabled. That's enough. That's it. I figured out my solution. Okay? So what we have to understand is, let's go back to the PowerPoint, that humans are living organisms. If we're going to understand living organisms, we're going to have to, and therefore, humans are organized. You see? There's an organized living organism. Okay? Not this scooter, the kid. Okay? And just as this person is organized physically, people are organized mentally. It's not really the brain, it's not a very good It's not a very good analogy, because it's not just the brain, it's not just physiology. But just as we're physically organized, we are mentally organized. That's the point I'm trying to make here. Okay? Okay? So, Piaget's, and what he's going to say, come back to me. Piaget is going to say that the nature that there, to answer Michelle's question, it is true that we know more by learning more. So some of you, anybody remember what the capital of South Dakota is? I only learned it for this class. I don't know the capitals too well. Pierre, right? Who didn't know before remembers now? Pierre, spelled like Pierre. See, that's knowing more. But it's also true that our intelligence increases by thinking better. By thinking better. And the way that we think tells us, gives us a lot of information. Okay, ready? I just got back from a trip. I did a little gambling. I didn't do too well. I lost a bunch of money, so I think I'm going to get it back, so I'm going to make all of you a bet. Here's what we're going to do. Has anybody heard of Irondequoit, New York? Hail, hail, Irondequoit, our alma mater dear. We praise thee for thy nobleness. I went to Irondequoit High School. It's a town outside of Rochester. Okay? I went to Irondequoit High School, obviously, right? That's the alma mater. At least it was when I went there. Anybody ever hear of China? Here, I'll write them down for you. Ready? Okay, ready? Let's go to the tablet. Here's Irondequoit. Right here. Anybody ever hear of Chili, New York? And here's Chili. Not chili, Chili. Okay? I mean, there's chilly stuff. There's a beach that you go to. That's the beach where you'd swim on Lake Ontario. Not Charlotte, Charlotte. What's the matter with you people? What? What's the color? Is that better? What?
Go the other end where black is.
Here? It's green, violet.
Other direction, other way. There you go.
Black. Wasn't black, huh? Let's try this again. Here's Irondequoit, thank you. There's Irondequoit right there, and here's Chili right here. Okay? Now, they all look black to me over here. Okay. Okay, ready? Now the question is, how far is it from Irondequoit to Chili? Okay, now here's the challenge I have for you. Is it possible for you to, this is as the crows flies, right? Distance on the map, or on a globe. To know the exact distance from Irondequoit to Chili, come back to me now. The exact distance from Irondequoit to Chili under the following conditions. You can't go there. You can't go to Western New York. Okay? No maps. Nobody's going to tell you. You're not going to see it on TV. Can't read a book about it. You're not going to hear it on the radio. No movies, no maps, no answers, nothing. Nobody is going to tell you how far it is from Irondequoit to Chili. Is there anyone who thinks that you can know exactly how far it is from Irondequoit to Chili without anybody telling you? Who thinks it's possible? You can't read it in any source, can't see it on television, can't go there, you can't get any information from satellites. Who thinks it's possible? Who thinks it's not possible? You have to vote. Who thinks it's not possible? Are you voting?
I haven't voted.
Push it down, push it down.
I hadn't voted yet.
Why, you don't trust me?
Wait for all the options.
So somebody said he's waiting for the options. Okay. Now let's see. People are watching this on tape too. Who wants to bet me? I'll give you 1,000 to 1 odds. $10 against $10,000. Let's make it 100 to 1. I had a bad loss in gambling. $100, 100,000. $10. Anybody ready to bet me 10 against 10,000 that you can know? Anybody want to bet me? I know what the option is, you know. Anybody want to bet me? Okay, ready? Let's go back to the tablet. The distance from Chilai to Irondequoit as the crow flies. By the way, Chilai is important. That's where the county airport is to get out of there. Chilai to Irondequoit, whoops, I don't know what happened here. To Irondequoit is 14.367 miles. How many people know how far it is from Irondequoit to Chilai? Anybody know? Who knows? Who knows? How far?
14.367.
How do you know?
Because
But push it down, tell me.
if it goes one way, it'll be exactly the same going the other way.
How many people were thinking because you told me? All of you owe me $20 because you're a bunch of liars. You're all lied. There's a 100% penalty for lying. Those of you who said you told me, owe me, double. I never told you that at all. I told you how far it was from Chilai to Irondequoit. But somebody said, tell us your name again for the 9th time.
Lynn?
Lynn said, oh, well, if it's that far one way, if it's that distance one, by the way, that's probably not accurate. If it's, if it's that distance one way, it's got to be the same distance the other way. Because of the way she thinks, all of you. Because of the way you think. If the distance from A to B has to be the same as the distance from B to A. Get a 4-year-old's not going to think so. Okay? So, to answer Michelle's question, it was a wonderful question, by the way. Okay? It's not just how much you know that gives you information, it's how you think that gives you information. And how you think can tell you what you can learn. So ultimately what we get, let's go back to the PowerPoint, is that Piaget's theory is a theory of intelligence. Okay? Piaget has a series of stages. Okay. Let's do this again. I need Chasey and Jessica again. Come back here. Got to have a little exercise early in the morning, right? This class is being broadcast early in the morning. Okay. We already see what Chasey and Jessica know about the capitals of the states. Now, come stand next to me. I tell Jessica, she's my mother. She's my mother. So who do you think's older? Her name is Shiva, right?
Shiva.
Shiva. Shiva's my mother. Who do you think's older?
Shiva.
Ask Chase, who do you think's older?
You are.
Because I'm?
Taller.
Taller, because I'm taller. This goes on and on. I ask Jessica, same number of fingers on both hands, or one have more?
Same.
Shazia? She said, Shazia, go ahead.
That one.
More because?
Big.
It's big. It's big. Good. You make a good 5-year-old. 4-year-old. Okay? This goes on and on. Okay, thank you very much. Good job. This goes on and on and on. 11 years old, 5 years old. The question is this person, is Jessica more intelligent? Is Chasey more intelligent? Or you can't, or it's hard to know. Okay? Most of you had a course, you were supposed to have a course in Piaget before you came here, but that's my question, okay? Is Jessica more intelligent? Is Chasey more, hard to know. Who votes that Jessica's more intelligent? One person. So go ahead, raise your hands if you're, oh, we got about 4 people. Who votes that Chasey is more intelligent? Who votes, you can't tell? Almost everybody else. Of those people who voted, who voted that Jessica's more intelligent? Tell me your name. Go ahead.
Rebecca.
Rebecca. How do you figure? Push it down, push it down.
Just because that she can take what she sees and applies it, like, puts it together.
Puts it together better anyway. Go ahead, Shiva, what were you going to say?
The same reason.
Same reason. Anybody else? Okay, those of you who voted you can't tell, for 6 weeks, One of them is going to balance your checkbook. Who votes? You have 3 votes. Jessica will do it, Chasey will do it, or it doesn't matter. Who wants Chasey to do it? Anybody want who wants Rebecca to do it? Excuse me. Jessica. Who wants Jessica to do it? Anybody want Chasey to do it? Nobody? How come?
Not as much experience.
Go ahead, push it down.
It's not as much experience.
As much experience. Her father's a banker. She's hung around banks her whole life. She's never seen a checkbook in her life. Go ahead.
But Chasey doesn't understand what a number is, but Jessica does.
Oh. So how could you vote that you can't tell who's more intelligent? Isn't it obvious who's more intelligent? Go ahead, why not?
They're at different ages and they
I understand
they understand different things, and so
that's right. Whose understanding is better? From your perspective, whose understanding is better?
Jessica's is, but that doesn't mean that Chasey won't understand it later.
I agree with that. Right now, I didn't say that Chasey won't get as intelligent as Jessica is when she's 11.
Yeah,
but right now,
where are they at the same age?
What? Go ahead.
I said, is that a measure of intelligence?
Well, what for you is a measure of intelligence? For Piaget, that's a good question. Is that a measure of intelligence? For Piaget, the answer is yes. Intelligence is not how many correct questions you get on an exam, a bunch of random questions on an exam compared to how many other people get right. Intelligence is how well you think. And if you think better, no pointing, you're more intelligent. She obviously thinks better.
But
Go ahead.
But if you're dealing with 5-year-olds who are just looking at 5-year-olds reply and her reply, they'll probably think she's doing better because they don't know that you can actually think and put everything together, you know. So it depends on who you expose.
Wait, it depends on what?
It depends on who you expose the knowledge to, right?
And if I get another 5-year-old who tells me you have the same fingers on both hands because you're just moving them around, you didn't add any, you didn't take any away. That 5-year-old is more intelligent than this 5-year-old. Right? For now. Okay? Unless there's something seriously wrong with this person, right? And given how she's thinking when she's 5, probably not. So in a year she'll know it. And then she'll be just as intelligent. Intelligence is not a matter of how are you compared to everybody else for Piaget. Intelligence is a matter of how you think. Now, admittedly, Piaget, remember, said he was an epistemologist. He's not trying to point out differences. Well, both of these people are at the top of adult thinking, what he calls formal operational, but one seems to be able to do this better, one that better. Clearly, this person, from Piaget's perspective, is more intelligent than this person. She thinks better. She understands more. She knows more. That's not to say that she's not going to get as intelligent as she develops, but right now she's not. And it's not just a matter of knowing less, it's thinking different. Come back. Okay? They both have the exact same knowledge about the two of us. All they know about the two of us is that she's my mother. That's all they know. Jessica doesn't know any more than Chasey, but because of how she thinks, she reaches a different conclusion. She says her mother's got to be older. She says, oh no, I have a different way. If you're bigger, you got to be older. There is nothing more difficult than convincing a 3-year-old that the taller kid is younger than the shorter kid. No, 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 no. Remember my son said, no, no. I said, you're older. He had a neighbor named Tal. You're older than Tal. No, 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 no. He's bigger, he's older. He was tall, he was a tall kid. All right, thank you very much. The two of you may be back. Give him a hand, thank you. Okay. So Piaget's theory, let's go back to the PowerPoint, is a theory of intelligence. And what Piaget says, that as people develop through stages, each stage represents a different way, a more intelligent way of thinking about the environment. Intelligence is measured by examining how we think, not by measuring how much knowledge we have accumulated. Look, 12-year-olds on the average are much more intelligent than 5-year-olds. That's why there's stuff you can teach 12-year-olds you can't teach 5-year-olds. It's that simple. Right? And 18-year-olds are more intelligent than 5-year-olds or than 10-year-olds. That's why you can teach them things you can't teach 10-year-olds or 12-year-olds. Concepts, ideas, notions of things. And it's not just a matter of knowing more. It's a matter of thinking in a fundamentally different way. Okay? A qualitative difference in intelligence. Okay?
Question.
Yeah.
Isn't how much knowledge we've accumulated directly affects how we think?
No. Interacting with the environment affects how we think. That's right. But ultimately, the kid who can count to 10 and thinks there are more fingers on this hand, come back to me for a second, more fingers on this hand than on this hand, and the kid who can't count to 10 and thinks there are more fingers on this hand than on this hand, what's the difference? The kid doesn't know what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 means. Doesn't get what it means. Let me tell you, this has practical implications. You can have kids who will tell you a P, 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 an I, a T, 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 T. Show them the word pit and they can't read it. Because understanding the relationship between parts and wholes and how they come together makes a big difference. I remember, look, I wasn't a little kid, and we learned this word in vocabulary. You know, it's a haphazard way to do things. I read it haphazard. PH is F. Teacher said, no, 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 haphazard. I said, no, it can't be. PH is F. Like telephone. PH has to be F. I just couldn't get it into my head that that's the way it was. I just couldn't get it. I had one kid, we already talked about this. He would not buy it. Home, Rome. Dome, comb. I said, no, this is comb. He said, it can't be. That's comb. This can't be comb. He wouldn't believe me. He said, I'm asking the teacher. He wasn't 7, he was 10. I'm asking my teacher. He said, I don't, can't be. He was in special ed or whatever they had. Went to the teacher. He wouldn't take it. He finally learned a rule. He was 11. He was old and he just wouldn't do it. Okay? So the rules we learn, how we understand the rules, how we handle exceptions to the rules, those all make a big difference. In speech, come back to me for a second. In speech, exceptions to the rules are very difficult for kids. Basically, if you watch people learn how to talk, first kids talk in the present tense, right? I go today, I go tomorrow, I go yesterday. I jumped today, I jumped tomorrow, I jumped yesterday. Then they get the idea of a d or a t at the end, right? Jumped, walked, right? Walked, jumped, talked. They get it. Walked, jumped, talked, see, go, knowed, and teached, right? You teached me that already. You'll get kids saying that in first grade, kindergarten, you'll want to die. Oh, it's taught. Oh, you get it? I taught you. Get it? Yeah. I'm glad you teached me that, right? They get the rule down, then the exceptions to the rule. It's very difficult. Okay? There's certain ways kids develop and thinking develops. Of course, this means that there are some mistakes that are good mistakes, things that learning theorists vociferously reject. The kid who 6 months ago was saying, I go yesterday, and now is saying, I goed yesterday, has made progress. Understands you need to change something for the past tense. Just wait, went will come eventually. Okay. It's how you're organized that counts. JJ, I have to pick. Come back here. Come back here. Here, take this chair. Come sit next to me here. Take that chair. Okay. What I'm going to do now. Bring it over here. Bring it over here. We'll have fun. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to make another chase here. Right? Sit here. Sit here. Have fun. Okay. Ready? I'm going to make another chase here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an analysis of this person, right? I'm going to do an analysis. I'm going to break it down, the task down into its parts. Okay? Then I'm going to get the parts and build a new one. No problem. Okay? You ready? Okay. I'm going to do this physically. Okay? Let's go back to the PowerPoint for one second. I'm going to take this physical person and break it down into its parts. Okay, ready? Come back to us. Okay, what are we going to do here? So what's in here? And I don't want any of this. I don't want any, proteins and blood and all that stuff. I want it broken down to its basics. Elements, molecules, if you want to. I'll start with the molecule. A lot of water in there. Okay, I measure. By the way, I've got machines, fluoroscopes, measurement. I can measure everything that's in there. Okay, ready? So we have water. What else is in there? Push it down, push it down. What?
Adenine.
Say it again.
Adenine.
What's adenine? It's a trace element? Okay, I believe him.
No.
What is it? What is it?
Energy molecule.
No molecules. No. I want just basic chemicals. Basic elements. There's water in there. What else is in there?
Carbon.
Carbon in there. Good thing. What else?
Calcium.
Calcium's in there. What else?
Iron.
Somebody else. You got something?
Potassium.
Potassium. What do you got?
Said iron.
Iron's in there. Right? We got a lot of iron, a lot of calcium. Trace of potassium. What else is in there?
Oxygen.
Some oxygen in there. Right. Oxygen in the water anyway. What else is in there?
Magnesium.
Push it down. Magnesium. A few other trace elements. What else? What makes the nerve shoot? Anybody know?
Sodium.
Sodium. Yeah. Got sodium problems here. Nerves don't work right. Sodium, lithium, a few of those things. I get it all, right? Good. I'm ready. I've done a task analysis. I've broken this organism down into its parts. Now I go to the chemical supply house and I buy in exactly the same amount of water, magnesium, calcium, carbon, iron that we found. I put it into a tube, put it all together, and I get another chase here. Right? Right? I broke it down into its parts, and I put the parts back together, and I go, now what do I get? What do I get? I get something. What'd you say?
Soup.
No, I get Gatorade, right? I get a mess. Maybe Gatorade with a multivitamin in it. Right? There are other trace elements we left out. Potassium. Did somebody say that already? Okay? Obviously not. Because she's an organized whole. And the things that work together, Jessica, you have to come back here. All right? Okay, we're going to stand up now so we don't need another chair, right? Okay? Where are you going? No, you have to stand up, all three of us. Okay, ready? Here are the three of us. Okay? If I'm going to do an analysis of how things look, these eyes go with those eyes. Because these eyes and those eyes are very similar, very different from the feet, right? But when these eyes see the tiger come in that door, those feet start to run out the other door, right? Likewise here, and if I'm faced this way and I don't see, tough luck. I'm the tiger's lunch, okay? So, just because those eyes look the same and those feet look more or less the same, right? One has nothing to do. Those eyes are working with those feet and these eyes are working with those feet. Because it's an organized whole, another organized whole, working together, right, to make the organism function. Okay? And you'll notice, by the way, that the two organisms, okay, they're not just organized wholes, they are subsystems. Better stay here. Two of you better stay here. Okay? Tell me subsystems here. Let's take Chase here. What subsystems are in this organism? Put it down here.
Circulatory.
A circulatory system. What else?
Respiratory.
Respiratory system. Any other? Say it again. A neuromuscular system. What else? Let's just go from the neck up. What system is that? What? Don't force me to poke her there. Hey, that's pretty good. How come you don't have a blink reflex? You wear glasses?
Yeah, contact.
She has contact. I don't know what you... Okay, what else is in here? What's this system? This is part of what system? Push it, what? Push it, say it.
Visual.
A visual system and okay, and help me out here.
Auditory.
Auditory system, right? What about this? What about this? Oh, we already had a respiratory system, didn't we? However, okay, but it's not so easy, okay? And clearly, so we have all those systems. We have an immune system. And all of those systems, by the way, we forgot a big one. We have auditory, visual, respiratory, circulatory. Say it. Go ahead. Push it down.
Digestive.
Digestive system. Got to eat, right? So, did you eat breakfast today? You see, she already ate. Good. Okay? Now, each one of these systems is designed to interact with a part of the environment that's essential. Has to have food, has to have oxygen, has to be able to bring the food, or to keep internal balance, has to be able to bring the food, to the cells, the circulatory system, the immune system to fight things that are going to try to attack the organism. What else? There are other systems we left out. How come she's not a blob on the floor? Skeletal system. Anybody know the name for skin? The integumentary system. I'm not going to even spell it for you. I had a nursing class once. Okay? But you have to be careful now, because the meaning of anything depends upon one particular part of the organism. Here, why don't you sit down in case I need you? Okay? One particular part of the organism can serve many different systems. For instance, we said the nose is part of the respiratory. So you get nervous here? I have a therapist for you afterwards, okay? The nose is also part of what other system? I'll give you a hint. Why do we sneeze? What is not? No. Autonomic. What does that do? What's a sneeze for? What's a sneeze for? Just to feel good? What's a sneeze for? What does a sneeze do? Say it again. Go ahead.
Gets the stuff out of your nose. I don't know.
Yeah. It's part of your immune system. Your nose is full of hairs and that reflex to blow things out that are going to attack you. And nose is part of your immune system. Her ear is also part of what? Ears aren't only for hearing. Anybody ever had an inner ear infection? What? Balance. Wait a second. Here we go.
Balance.
Balance. Your the system of balance to keep her balanced, not just right. If you have an ear infection, you get dizzy. You can't have your balance, right? The skin is part of your nervous system. If I would take a little cigarette and push it here, or a pin, I put it here and she'd jump. It's also part of your immune system. When people get severe burning, that's one of the that's the biggest danger, or one of the biggest dangers. Germs don't have much of a way to get in now. They can get in through your nose, right? You sneeze them out through your mouth, but most of them go into your digestive system, and they get. Okay, we try hard to keep them out. You burn, they can attack everywhere. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot for now. Thank you. You may be back. Okay. Be sure you come next week because I have more to do. Okay? So what Piaget is going to tell us is just as we are physically organized, we are also mentally organized. And he says, biology is not a matter of saying, oh, come back to me for a second. Oh, I understand what's biological. She was born with 27 units of our talent, and she was born with 89 units of our talent, and I was born with 2 units of our talent. Oh, she's innately superior in math, and he's innately superior in English. None of that stuff. Biology, in fact, that's not how biologists think. Biology has to do with, back to the PowerPoint, sorry, processes of development. And Piaget says all organisms show 2 things, processes of development, organization and adaptation. All living things are organized. I set them down for a reason because I have to say something bad now. What do we call a living thing that loses its organization? It's, push it down?
Dead.
It's dead. What's the difference between, come back to me now, what's the difference between that, let's make it an animal we don't mind too much. I used to make it dogs, but people got upset. A rat that's going across the street. Anybody in love with rats? A rat that's going across the street, the second before you hit it with a car and the second after you hit it with a car. It's still the same chemicals. It's still the same chemicals. It's exactly the same. It lost its organization. Here, I'm going to give you an example of an experiment that was really done at the beginning of the 20th century. They wanted to know, a couple of scientists said, how much does life weigh? W-E-I-G-H. Weigh. How much does it weigh? How much does life weigh? So they got this ingenious experiment. They devised a bed that was a scale, a weight scale. And they went to the hospital, and these are people who were dying, and they knew they were dying. And they said, we'll pay you if you let us watch you die. I guess if you're dying, you don't need money too much, but I guess it was, we'll give money to your to your heirs if you let us watch you die. All you have to do is lie on our bed. It'll feel the same as a regular bed, but it's a scale. So people agreed. So there were people dying. This was before, they had all kinds of machines where you never knew you could extend life. And they sat in the hall of the hospital waiting. The doctor would come and say, patient in room 13 is about to die. They'd run in, 2 experimenters, and one is looking at the person like this, intently watching the breathing, and the other's down here like this. Can you see me? Down here like this, watching the scale. Okay? Person is watching, and they've got an exact measure of how much the person weighs. All of a sudden, the person stops breathing, the person goes, now! The person looks at the scale. No change. So the answer to that conclusion was life weighs nothing. That's right, because life isn't a thing, life is a process. Those chemicals, once something dies, it becomes this pile of chemicals. Okay? And Piaget's, those organizations are Piaget's stages. Each stage is a different organization. By organizing, we are consistently taking what we know and organizing it mentally. And we change the way we organize. Okay? And the way we change is by adapting. Adaptation is the fancy word. Look, this stuff here. Let's go back to the PowerPoint. Adaptation is Piaget's fancy word for interaction with the environment. Look, this was in French. I don't know French. It was translated by people. Okay? And we're going to do this adaptation part first. Piaget talks about assimilation and accommodation. Okay? 2 ways to adapt to the environment. And I have to be careful because, particularly this was written in not in English, and people translate it and don't look at me, and there are different translations for Piaget's work. But just briefly, accommodation means changing yourself in order to fit the environment. That's what most of us think adaptation is. You change as a result of the environment. But Piaget says adaptation is also changing the environment to fit you. Okay? And he says changing the environment to fit you is called assimilation, and changing yourself to fit the environment is called accommodation. So I'm going to start on the. Come on, will you? There we go. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about physical accommodation first. Come back to me. Physical assimilation first. Okay. Assimilation means changing the environment to fit the way you're organized. Let's try it physically first. Because remember, I said, let's go back to PowerPoint for 1 second. I said that Piaget says just as we're physically organized, we're also mentally organized. The rules for physical organization are the same as the rules for mental organization are the same as the rules for physical organization. Why? Because the rules of life are the rules of life. And we're living things, and our thoughts, come back to me now, our thoughts are thoughts of living things. Okay? So let's do it physically first, and then we'll see how it works mentally. Okay, I'm going to ask a question. There are 3 options. One is, the question is, can human beings use food, like the food in potatoes and the food in bread for, can human beings use starch, the starch in potatoes and the starch in bread for food? The options are yes, no, or it must be a trick question because I don't trust you. Who votes yes? Almost everybody. Who votes no? Who votes it's a trick question? Yeah, okay. The answer, of course, is, come back to me, no. Our bodies can't use starch for food. You never see our circulatory system taking starch around to our cells. What happens when you eat a potato? What? Go ahead.
You break down the starch.
You break it down into?
I don't know.
Well, what's it broken? You don't have to have the exact one. Into what? Sugars, right? Into sugar, right. By the way, your saliva already does that. When you chew on a potato or piece of bread, the starch is already broken by your saliva into complex sugar.
You do take in starch.
You do take in starch, and your body assimilates the starch. It changes the starch into what it needs. That's assimilation. So it takes the starch, breaks it down into complex sugars, then it starts getting digested into less complex sugar until it's finally broken down into the sugar that we need. Dextrose? Glucose? Glucose. That's the sugar that we use, glucose. Here, go ahead. I may be wrong about this, I'm no biologist, but I'm pretty close. Go ahead.
So assimilation is changing the environment to fit you?
Changing the environment to fit you is assimilation. It's changing the environment to fit you. That's what assimilation is. Okay? Or it's selecting from the environment what fits you. Okay, on the count of 3, I want everybody to take a deep breath. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Let it out. Okay. Now when you took that breath, you breathed in a whole bunch of gases. You breathed in more of what gas than any other one? What's the most common gas in the atmosphere? At least for now. Go ahead, you got it. Push it down, push it down.
Nitrogen?
Nitrogen. We can't use the nitrogen. Okay? Out of that breath, when you blew the air back out, something was missing. You selected out the gas that we need, which is oxygen, right? By the way, when a plant breathes in, however they do it, it takes out the oxygen and carbon dioxide, or at least a green plant, for photosynthesis, right? We also blew out carbon dioxide that was in there that we didn't need. Okay, don't like carbon dioxide, it's not good for us. We manufacture that and blow it out. Okay, so it's selecting what you have, right? And it's changing and selecting, okay? To make the environment fit you, okay? And remember, you have to interact with your environment. You have to. Let's take another organism. Tell us your name, go ahead.
Jennifer.
Jennifer. That's only the 9th time we've had her name. Okay, here's Jennifer. Okay? If I cut off Jennifer, there's nothing personal, Jennifer, from her environment, so she can't interact with anything in her environment, how long is she going to stay a living organism?
8 seconds.
What? What do you got?
About 8 seconds.
Why 8 seconds?
The vacuum will pretty much rip her apart from that point.
If I put a vacuum in this room Now, if she's in this room and I just suck everything in, she can't observe. Right? What's the one thing in environment? It wouldn't be 8 seconds, but it would be, that would be in space. But here, how long would she live if she couldn't get anything from her environment? It's a little longer than 8 seconds, not much.
About 40.
What?
About 40.
Nah, probably 2-3 minutes. What would happen?
Suffocate.
Yeah. What does she see? No oxygen. Okay? No water, 3 days. No food, a couple weeks. I'd last longer. I have supplies, right? I have my reserves packed in there, don't worry. Okay? Interestingly enough, by the way, if we take human organisms who can't hear, who can't see, they have a much harder time adapting to their environment. As a matter of fact, they pretty much couldn't do it unless the rest of us helped us. Fortunately, we're going to talk about moral development. But it's not so... It's okay. We need this. If she couldn't see or hear, it would be pretty tough. Pretty tough. Okay? In the human environment, not being able to hear is extremely difficult. Extremely difficult. Can't get information from other people. It's very, very difficult. Okay? Fortunately, we use our intellect to overcome it with sign language and other kinds of things. But in times there were human babies, you know, we're talking about thousands of years ago, who were born blind or who were born deaf, had a very difficult time surviving. Okay? Because we need to interact with our environment and take the things in we need. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. So now when it comes to this, intellectually rather than physically, assimilation means taking in new information from the environment into the existing way of thinking. It's a quantitative accumulation of knowledge. So Michelle, there's your answer. Yes, Piaget believes in learning. Michelle, you didn't look at the screen. Watch this. Watch the effect. Woo! Learning. See it? Piaget believes in learning. We take in quantitative measures, but we make it fit the way we think. Oh, I've just taken in some information. I see that you're taller than your mother. You're older than your mother. Or I see you're taller than your mother. I don't care. She's your mother. She's older than you are. Okay? But learning, assimilation of intellectual knowledge, takes place within the context of each structure. We fit what we learn into the way we think. We understand new information in terms of reasoning of our current stage. Let me give you another example. Okay, Fowler, who was come back to me, who was a developmental psychologist, talked about when he was a graduate student, I think he was a graduate student, anyway, he had a job, he was driving a garbage truck for a camp, right? And he was taking the garbage from the camp out to the garbage dump out in the country. And the camp director's son said, I want to go, I don't want to go. So the director said, okay, the kid was 3. He said, okay, you can go. Go with him. So Fowler said, I'm driving down the road, this back dirt road in the country, right, where the camp was, toward the garbage dump. And as I'm driving down the road, a farmer, I'm in the truck, a farmer comes from a side dirt road and turns in front of us. So he's in front of us. So the guy was obviously a psychologist, he was a doctoral student in psychology, so he begins to talk to the kid, and he says to the kid, okay, what do we agree on? The car's in the front, and the truck is in the back. This they agreed upon. The distance between the car and the truck is remaining the same. As they travel down the road, the distance goes the same. The car is not pulling ahead of the truck, and the truck is not catching up to the car. The distance remains the same. So the information, they have information, the assimilation is the same. Now the question is the car going faster, which is in the front? Is the truck in the back going faster, or are they going the same speed? Fowler said, I concluded from the information that we had learned, we watched and observed, that we were going the same speed. But that's not what the kid concluded, the 3-year-old concluded. He concluded that the car was going faster because, go ahead.
It was in front.
It was in front. Every once in a while, we get hints of our primitive thinking that are jokes now.
I may be, you ever see the bumper sticker? I may be driving an old junker, but I'm in front of you, right? Stop, okay? So they had the exact same information, but they reached two different conclusions because of the way they thought. You cannot imagine how important this is in elementary schools and in middle schools too, even in high schools. In high schools, so all through. That the nature of it's not just a matter of absorbing information like a machine. It's the way people think. That, by the way, is what sets off people from computers. Are computers alive? How come? What makes something alive, aside from cells? Don't give me that stuff. I don't want to hear that. Because that's a good answer and then it screws up my argument. Okay. What makes something alive? Are computers alive? Why isn't a computer alive?
It doesn't have emotions.
Okay, go ahead.
It doesn't have emotions.
Yeah, but trees don't have emotions. Alive. I'm not talking about are they human. Are they alive? Go ahead. Push something. Say something.
It can't reproduce.
They can't reproduce. So once a woman reaches menopause, she's not alive? And by the way...
It has that ability.
Right. So a human who's born sterile for one reason or another is not alive? And by the way, I could have computers make other computers. If you have any friends who are no longer able to reproduce for whatever reason, don't tell them about this. They'll come and kill, right? we have a person who doesn't think too much of them. What else? A species has to be able to reproduce, but not an individual to be alive. Her answer is not as silly as it sounds, obviously. A species has to be able to reproduce.
It doesn't have independent thought.
Yeah, but a tree doesn't have thought.
You can turn around.
But you're very close. You're very close. Go ahead.
You can turn a computer off.
You can turn a computer off and turn it back on again. If I turn a person off, that's it, baby. Right? You can tell a computer you can stop interacting with your environment. That's it. Okay? You can't tell that. Can't do that to a living organism. Has to constantly interact with its environment. Okay? And once you program a computer, it cannot independently change the way it thinks by interacting with the environment. Computers are logical. You stick the rules of logic in there, and it'll do it for you. You can tell it if A is bigger than B and B is bigger than C, then A is bigger than C. And you can tell the computer Tom is taller than, my house is bigger than George's house, and George's house is bigger than my house. My house is bigger than George's house, and Jimmy's house is bigger than my house. No, Jimmy's house is bigger than George's house. They can tell you. A computer will tell you that. But computers cannot change the way they think. They fit everything into the way they already think. Okay? Come back here. Thanks. So for learning theorists, change is only quantitative. They maintain that we know more by learning more information. They deal only with the learning aspects of intelligence. But for Piaget, for developmental psychologists in general, change is both quantitative and qualitative. We know more both by learning more and by thinking better. Okay? And if you don't remember that, if you are not aware of that, come back to me now, you are going to have disaster, so to speak, as a teacher. Let me say that this idea that people think differently, and therefore some are ready to learn some things or some are not ready to learn some things, is something our school system totally ignores. Everybody's taken that tacky test on this day. I don't care about their individual differences in development. I don't care. This thing about learning disabilities, individual differences, I don't know whether to laugh or cry. First, I'm going to ignore all individual differences. This kid doesn't understand what a number is. Don't teach her how to add. This kid doesn't get the relationship between letters and sounds. Stop with phonics. He doesn't get it. No, we're doing it. Then afterwards say, oh, you have an individual way of reading. I screwed everything up. Let me be individual now. So what I do is I say, everybody's going along the same path at the same time. I don't worry about how people think. It's just a matter of learning. And if you can't do it, you're sick. And that's what bothers me about this whole system. The next thing we're going to do when we come back next time, come back to the PowerPoint, is accommodation. And this is going to talk about never mind, come back to me. Accommodation is going to talk about how an organism changes itself in response to the environment. I don't want a species. We know species do that. Okay? A species that lives in by white flowers, and all of a sudden there's a mudslide and everything's brown, like butterflies, right? They've seen this thing of butterflies that live in white meadows. All of a sudden there's a factory and everything turns gray. So over the course of several generations, you see the butterfly, the grayer, getting grayer and grayer because the darker ones survive. How does an individual human being change itself permanently in response to the environment? It's not easy, but I've been doing this for a while and I have some examples. And you will see that's what accommodation is. Permanently changing the way we think for the better, so that we're better off in our environment. We do that physically. See if you can come up with some examples next time. It's not so easy, but I have faith in your intellectual capacity. And then we're going to see that we also do it cognitively. Okay, I'll see you next time.